Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the September, since I had that wrong, the issue of the MSMF Wealth Management Podcast. I am joined today, as always, by my man Cody Redding. Cody, how are we?
I'm doing great.
Jay Peters. Jay, how are you?
Doing awesome, man.
You guys are doing better than me. I thought it was still August. You turned 60. You don't know what flipping month it is. So, and we're already halfway through September. Anyway, so welcome. Mizzou's 3-0. Hopefully going to be 4-0. So M-I-Z.
C-O-U.
All right, guys. Finally, we didn't get it last month. Today, we're going to talk about something that happens periodically to us. We help clean up a little bit of a mess that kind of is, I don't want to say the clients create, they're kind of tricked into it. We're going to talk today about schemes and scams. And there is a lot of schemes and scams out there, guys, which you are fully aware of. The sad part in today's world is there is no shortage of people that are trying to illegally separate our clients from their money. So I'd like to talk about that today to give everybody a little bit of a guidebook to kind of help themselves, help their brothers, their sisters, their moms, their dads, their relatives, their work colleagues, to kind of keep an eye out for these things because they can kind of slip in when you're not paying attention, and before you know it, you're many thousands of dollars shorter than you were the day before. Okay, so let's start with kind of understanding the common themes. So, guys, there's really kind of three main types of schemes and scams. There's transaction schemes, which I'm going to ask you to go through in a minute, Cody. There's investment schemes, Jay, which you're going to walk us through. And then there's cry for helps or cry to help, which we're going to go through. A little bit different, but fall underneath the same category. And a lot of these you'll recognize. Some of you may not. But hopefully we get done today. There's some new information and help you kind of have your radar up to keep an eye on these things. So, Cody, let's start with you. Talk to me about what are some of the common, what I'll call transaction schemes that are out there trying to trick our clients.
Yeah, I think these are more of, hey, can I outsmart the IRS?
Yeah, a lot of them have to do with tax issues and, let's be smarter than the IRS, which is kind of hard to do, but go ahead.
Yeah. If you're trying to do that, you're already on the radar. So,
You just made the list, buddy.
Good point.
Number one, I think we hear this in meetings a lot. So, I was reading online, and if I set up this, company or LLC, I can put these expenses in here and, go down the rabbit hole with that. Well, you certainly can.
Absolutely.
But you better make sure that you have your ducks in a row and it's actually a valid business and that you actually have an income and revenue and you're just not expensing everything.
Right.
So not everything's a one size fits all when it comes to that. Then we get a lot of tax avoidance versus tax evasion.
There's a difference?
There is a difference. So tax avoidance would be something that your rightful legal act to do so, like putting some money into a 401k, an IRA, taking the correct deductions or tax credits on something. Now, tax evasion would be, hey, I'm going to hide this money and not pay this. So like money laundering type stuff. That's where you get big trouble.
So the one with the A is okay. The one with the E is bad.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
E no good. Then there are certainly, kind of labeled under a scheme here, but they're very complex. So they're called rollovers as business startups, and the acronym is ROBS.
I wonder why.
So we've had clients successfully do this. I would say you better get a CPA that knows what they're doing, because one little slip up and all of a sudden all this money becomes taxable event, and it's just not a good situation. We also get a lot of questions on, hey, can I own real estate side of my IRA? You can. You better know the rules with it. Again,
right.
Get a CPA in there, and you really have to have quite a large amount to be able to do that.
Yeah, I would say real quick on IRAs, there's a lot of landmines on that, and there's a lot of misinformation and advertisement and websites out there that promote all this stuff, including these two things. And when the IRS has an acronym for something, it's probably not a good idea.
Right.
But unfortunately, there's so much advertisement and promotion out there. It's very hard to rein that stuff in and take it down, and people see it, and they make it seem really legitimate. You'll see things like, and I know Jay, you're going to talk about this, like IRS approved, and no such thing. And there's a lot of schemes and scams in IRAs for sure.
Yeah, tax reduction schemes. Hey, give us a call. We'll help reduce your taxes. Probably there's something not correct with that.
Right.
That part. And, along the same lines, estate tax discount things. Now, usually don't run into that unless you get a large sum of money. But again, if someone's trying to help you, not pay taxes, there's probably something a little fishy about it.
Reduce your estate or your tax liability to zero. Yeah, that's going to fly. Okay. Thank you, Cody. So Jay, let's go from transaction-based schemes and scams to investment scams. And there's no shortage of those.
Yeah.
So talk to me about some of the most common ones you see.
Yeah, unfortunately, this was not a very difficult list to put together because there's a lot of different scams out there. So the first one, celebrity-endorsed investments. So if you see somebody on TV a lot, you get kind of familiar with them, and then maybe if they are on your favorite news channel or something, then you really start thinking, oh, they have my best interest in mind, right? And so then they recommend something, and I'm going to go put my money in that. Please don't do that. At least not just because of the celebrity, right? So we'll come to some ways to kind of discern which ones are good or bad, but right off the bat, just because so and so said to do it, that should not be the reason to do anything, right? So celebrity endorsements, the other one you already had kind of said, IRS approved. There are zero investments, insurance products, annuities, or just about anything that's IRS approved, except for maybe the Form 1040. I think that one's IRS approved.
Yes, it is, sir.
But anything else, probably not IRS approved, or at least endorsed, right? So be careful with that. Another one, this is just kind of a general label for all kinds of scams, and not just investments as well, but let's call it boiler room scam. If you're familiar with the movie, why was Boiler Room popular, or Wolf of Wall Street, a newer reference, sell, right? Aggressive, sell, it has to be right now, do it or you're going to miss out. If it's really that big of an emergency and they won't let you just think about it for a minute, big red flag.
Absolutely.
So be careful with that type of a sales type nature. Another one, you hear these all the time, pyramid schemes, right? So where they're trying to recruit people underneath you to get like a downline production and all kinds of stuff. Sounds really cool, but if it all kinds of goes up like this, eventually you run out of steam and then it's no longer an investment. Now it's a liability. Unfortunately, there's all kinds of documentaries out there about how these pyramid schemes went wrong. We were just talking about one earlier that's on Netflix. So be careful with those. Make sure the investment is because of the product and because of the business, not because of promises, right? All right, and then fake investment platforms. We've had a couple people in the news recently who created their own platform or product and went to jail. All these different things. There's all kinds of things out there, especially with new technology like blockchain and cryptocurrency that everybody feels like everybody's making money on. So everybody's trying to jump out and take advantage of that. And then the fraudsters are out there licking their chops going, how can we make something that looks real and it really isn't? So be careful with all those different investment things that could be fake, whether it's the company, the product, the platform where you're actually holding or sending your money to. There's all kinds of different ways where they can just be completely made up in the middle of that. And then the last one, advanced payment schemes. This is one where it sounds really super promising, but just give us a fee for now, or a processing fee, or a holding fee, or a down payment. There's all kinds of words that they'll use, right? But give us money up front, and then that will give you access to blank. So whether it's an investment or an opportunity or all kinds of different things that they'll try and sell you. But what is that fee really paying for? Is it actually, buying access to something? There's just all kinds of things that heads up for that one.
Yeah.
So, advanced payment scams.
Yeah, and I will tell you that, and we really didn't mention this, but in today's world, we get bombarded with these things. They still use the phone. They certainly use email, and now they use social media and text, right? It's just a constant bombardment, and I don't know what the percentages are, but man, there's a large percentage of all these things that come in through your phone, through your inbox, through social media, through texting that are just absolutely complete scams. And I think, Cody, the last category is when we get these cries for help or someone cries to help us. Talk through those a little bit.
Yeah, I think these are certainly coming, I feel like, a lot more popular because it really feels like there's a sense of help or urgency that, because they'll use family members, right? So, probably the most popular one, and we were all joking about this, there's some Nigerian scam out there, Prince, you send them 10,000, they're going to wire you 10 million.
It didn't work for you?
I think we're all familiar with that one.
That one's pretty tired of this.
Yeah. Now there are some interesting ones out there with like AI where they will, get a family member's voice from their voicemail or from them answering, and then they can use just those couple of words to create like a conversation. We've had clients get, left voicemails, or they're talking on the phone, niece or nephew, they know they're out of town through social media or whatever it might be. And hey, ransom, right? They need 10,000 to let them go and let them safe. Money's wired and the money's gone forever. And then you get a call from your niece or nephew and they're okay. So, they're very, I'd say those are, very complex and it's just wrong and it really stinks that it happens. But they're getting a lot more. They're getting very good at what they do, I guess you would say. Another one that we come across with is computer has a virus, and especially for some of our elderly clients, and hey, if you send us some money, we're going to help you out. And we're not talking little money; we're talking $10,000, $20,000, and it's unfortunate, but it does happen. So just be aware of things like that happening. And favorite one is I'm calling from the IRS. The IRS does not call you.
No phone calls ever.
They
from the
send
IRS.
you nasty grams, but
You get the letter that look, I was printed on a dot matrix printer 25 years ago, but they don't call, do they?
no, and they're not going to, if you give them money right away, help reduce what you owe them and all that kind of stuff. So it's just more of know that they're out there and they're getting really good at what they do, and especially when they start using people that and you're familiar with. I think that's the scary part.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it, the AI aspect of it, the artificial intelligence, that getting very good at, someone calls you, you answer your landline or your cell phone, and someone says your name and you say yes, then your voice is now could potentially be recorded, and they can use that small snippet and maybe one other word, and AI can then create the ability to have whatever kind of dialogue with your voice inflection and everything on it. So, now I would say the carriers are getting a lot better. I'm a Verizon guy, and I get a Verizon warning that it's potentially spam. And I would say, again, I never anymore answer a phone number that is not in my contact database. If they really want me, they'll leave a message. So I don't, and particularly if I answer a phone call and I haven't checked the number and someone immediately says, "Is this Mark Finke?" I say, "Hey, who is this? Identify yourself." I won't say yes because this nonsense is going on. It's gotten so sophisticated that everywhere we turn, we got to be careful in terms of what's going on. Right?
Yes.
So Jay, we talked about transaction scams, investment schemes, cries for, cries to help. How do we go about preventing some of these things so that we're not a victim of these schemes and scams?
Good question. I think the number one thing you can do is slow down and research it.
Right.
So, if you're afraid that TikTok video strategy number one by a 17-year-old is a scheme that's too good to be true, well, type in that strategy or scheme or name or the investment or whatever on Google and put scam behind it. What do you get? Because I've done that several times, and you get 3,000 hits of how this was a scam. Like, okay, good thing I searched that real quick, right? So that's one thing you can do, research, right? And that's doing your own research, because then the second thing you can do is reach out to others, right? whether that's us or someone else. But I'll come back to that. But just asking questions, and don't just take anything that they say at their face value.
Sure.
Unfortunately, you have to be at discerning. But kind of related to that, saying on the phone with them, like if it's on the phone or even in an email, text, whatever, I'd like my lawyer or accountant to review this. Might get hung up on.
Hopefully, you'll know then for sure it's a scam.
But no, they probably have an objection handler of, oh, no, we need to do it right now. And then it goes back to they're trying to pressure you to do something now, right? It doesn't feel right. So, but that's just kind of something in your back pocket. I want my lawyer to review this, right? Another one's kind of related. Can I have it in writing? Will you email it to me? Will you mail me something? Slows it down, but then also it's making them justify it and put something in writing that most of them aren't going to have. Another one, if we're talking about like Geek Squad or someone who you have a computer virus and Microsoft is coming to your house. Actually, we had a client, someone told them that. I'll have Geek Squad look at it. I'm going to reach back out to someone I know and have them take care of it. See what happens. You never know what they'll say from that. Another one is on some of these cries for help. If they're asking for iTunes gift cards, that's usually a red flag, especially if the IRS wants iTunes gift cards. So we can laugh about it. It's kind of funny, but in the moment,
a treasury agent doesn't want iTunes gift cards.
In the moment, you're probably not thinking about that.
Right,
But,
I agree.
But in the form of payment, is it a check made out to cash? Little red flags like that about, well, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
Why do you want it that way? Ignore high pressure sales tactics. I already said that, right? Slow down. Can I sleep on this? Let's talk next week. Little things like that. Another one that we've walked a couple clients through is adding powers of attorney, specifically for some of our older clients who it's getting harder and harder for them to really keep track of this stuff, and all these different scams coming through. So having maybe their kids on it, for example, of, hey, I just need someone else to help keep an eye on stuff.
Right.
And that's another one on here is having an advisor on your different accounts that have a regular review. What withdrawals have we taken? Is anything out of the ordinary, right? And then if you can combine that with having someone else look at it too, like a family member, super, super beneficial. They also have third-party monitoring services. So it's kind of like credit monitoring, but now they're actually looking at the transactions you're doing. So, and a lot of times you can set like a dollar amount, like anything over $100, right? So then that way it goes to yourself or maybe someone else of, hey, this transaction went through. Does this make sense? Is this out of the ordinary? Do you need to investigate that? That might catch some of these other potential things, like if you did click on the Nigerian prince's email and it takes you somewhere else, right? You never know. So having some sort of monitoring on that. And then my favorite one on here, the golden rule, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So that's just, trying to be very, very careful with what you're doing. Unfortunately, there's just so many bad people out there right now. And they're getting more and more advanced in how they take advantage of us.
Yeah, very creative. And I think that one of the biggest things that we see is they create, particularly via phone with some of our retired clients, they create this sense of urgency that I'm from the IRS, I'm going to put you in handcuffs, your computer's going to blow up, you're going to lose all your data, and all your money's going to be gone because it's from your computer. All this high pressure stuff, to your point, that if there's a lot of high pressure, odds are it's probably a scam, right? So if they're telling you have to do something now, typically speaking, that's a gigantic red flag that, hey, this is a bunch of hooey, that this is not real, And I think your point about the powers of attorney, we don't draft those. We refer those to, our attorney contacts to help people draft them. But it's not an expensive thing to get done. And it is an added level of protection. And then things like the third-party monitoring, we've looked at a company called Careful, which is very interesting that we've tested and may well have something for clients on that. But there are tools that are out there to help monitor the transactions, just in case something slips through to make sure nothing else goes through. And you're right. If it sounds too good to be true, guess what?
Pretend like
probably
it is.
Like saying the Cardinals are going to make it into the playoffs this year and win the World Series. Well, that just sounds too good to be true. That can't be it, right? So, Cody, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think just what you guys have already kind of reiterated is slow down with it if it seems high pressure. Call some people maybe and run it by them. Guess what? If it's going to be really super important, they're going to call you back
Yeah.
if it was something that they actually needed, because they're going to move on to the next person. And we run into it a lot. So certainly feel free to, we have our, text line through my rep chat, send a quick text or email or phone call. I'm happy to kind of go over it with you and see if it makes, sound sense or if it's a scam.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jay, final thoughts?
Yeah, related to the last thing you said, we've had a couple clients that they were taking advantage of. But our favorite is if they do send us that text and say, is this legit? Is this right? Because we'd much rather fix it on the front hand and try and figure out how to prevent that from happening again than trying to clean up the aftermath of if something does happen. So you can't be too careful with this kind of stuff. Just be careful.
Yeah. And again, you don't need to remember the way we categorized it. Just know that there's no shortage of people that are out there trying to separate you from your money, whether it's on the telephone, whether it's an email, whether it's social media, whether it's text. And to your guys' point, reach out and ask. We're happy to look at it for you. Ask your brothers, your sisters, your work colleagues. Make sure your parents ask you. Again, circle back to us. We got the text line, we got email. We still use the old-fashioned telephone. I'm happy to look at anything to avoid something adverse happening. And it's easier just to, I think, Jay, you said it best. Slow down, take a deep breath. Let's investigate this. Let me get another opinion to make sure somebody's not scamming me or scheming.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen, great job. Appreciate your time today in September. And we look forward to speaking with all of you next month. Until then, MIZ.
COU.